G'day and kia ora. This is the Anzac Gamer, also known as Angel885. Do not forget to hit that like button if you like this video, the dislike button if you did not like this video, and to subscribe to my channel as I try and bring content to you every Friday night, Saturday morning. So, as the title has suggested, this is mainly going to be about Microsoft's Project Scorpio with an add-on onto what I foresee the future of console gaming, which I alluded to in the previous video, which was PCs versus console. Link to that video in the description below. So let's get straight into this. Basically, we'll get straight into the specs of Project Scorpio that Phil Spencer and other people have actually mentioned the Scorpio going to have. It is going to have an 8-core CPU by an unknown manufacturer. Dun, dun, dun. Unknown manufacturer. What could that possibly mean? Well, there's really only two manufacturers that I can think of that would be usable in a system like this, and that's either Intel or AMD. Now, what the actual specs of that CPU is going to be very interesting. It might end up being an Intel processor, but then again, who knows? They have got a lot of, the talk from even the GPU is an unknown at this stage. All that Microsoft have said is that it's a 6 teraflop GPU and has 320 gigabyte per second memory bandwidth. So the CPU, being an 8-core unknown manufacturer, I dare say it's going to be either an x86 64 architecture processor, which is so that it remains compatible with the current library of Xbox One, and also so that there isn't any need for any kind of new software developing kit. They just have to expand this current software developing tools, unless they're already using Visual Basic. Nothing, because that's what some people use for creating programs for Windows 10. And considering that at the heart of the Xbox Ones is essentially the Windows 10 kernel, just like previously where it was the Windows 8 kernel, and then they did a Windows 10 update, it would all make sense for them to keep that compatibility in check, so that they've got Xbox One constant compatibility with the 360 add-ons that they've done, and then also so that they can be compatible later on down the track for something that I suspect they're going to pull. So let's get on to now the GPU. Now, bear in mind the Project Scorpio is at least 12 months away from actually being released. All these things that they keep talking about are subject to change. There is the possibility that things will change with the specs. They may end up not doing an 8-core processor. They may end up doing a quad-core processor that has hyper-threading, or they may do quad-core. And so when I mention quad-core, I mean so that they can run a higher clock speed and have a much stronger, because a lot of games don't utilize multiple cores. They usually they can be quite heavy on single-core processors. But who knows? As I said, it's over 12 months away. The specs are still up in the air, even though they have said this is what it's going to be. Yeah, maybe. We don't know. Maybe they will get it. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll be more powerful than what they actually come out with. Maybe they'll be slightly less. We don't know. But the biggest talking point that is coming out of a lot of places that talk about the Project Scorpio is that 6 teraflop GPU. Now, to put that into perspective, that is almost the equivalent of a GTX 1070. And the NVIDIA GTX 1070 has a 6.5 teraflop GPU. So we're getting in the realms of these high-performance GPUs. The memory bandwidth is 320 gigabyte per second. Now that's the same bandwidth that a GTX 1080 has on its memory. Now, to shed a little light on this, the memory bandwidth of a GTX 1070 is 256 gigabyte per second. And that's running GDDR5 memory. The 1080 is running GDDR5X memory, which is the new high bandwidth memory that is used on high-end GPUs, and that's 320 gigabytes per second. Now, what conclusion we can draw on the numbers that they've said. It's quite possible that they are planning on putting GDDR5X high bandwidth memory into this thing, but again, we don't know. They've just said this is the bandwidth for the memory, this is the teraflop GPU power. What that means is, you know, generally if they get this, if they do it, then it is true 4K gaming at 60 frames, I would expect. Whether or not developers actually take advantage of this power, which is ultimately what they need to do, is up to them. If the third-party developers decide, no, we're not going to do that, then that's fine. They'll target 1080 and the system will upscale. But why you would do that, I don't know. It's quite possible that Project Scorpio, and this is where I'm beginning to question whether or not it's an actual console, gets thrown in. The amount of power, the fact that they are now targeting, like Microsoft no longer do Xbox One exclusive, they do Xbox One Windows 10 exclusives, so it's now Xbox One and PC. They're doing cross-platform titles. They aren't doing straight, no, this one's for Xbox One, you can't get it on PC. Leads me to believe that Microsoft are gearing up, like getting their titles and their ducks in a row leading into Project Scorpio's release, because it's quite possible that Project Scorpio isn't a console. They haven't mentioned, they've said the Xbox One, the Project Scorpio is going to be the last generational console that they do, or last generational thing that they do, but they've never actually come out. Everywhere I've looked, they have never said that that Project Scorpio is an all out and out console. They've never really said it themselves. This is the Project Scorpio. That's it. They've never said this is the Project Scorpio console. They haven't, because if it was a console, I would expect them to say this is the Xbox One or the Xbox 4K or the Xbox Ultimate or the Xbox Pro. Sort of similar to what PlayStation have done. Sony did with the PlayStation. They went PlayStation Pro. Which is fair enough. It's a completely different console. It's got twice as much power as the PlayStation, the normal PlayStation 4. So why? And yet it's not a new generation because it's still running PlayStation 4 titles. It's mainly for their VR content. So what's going on? You know, with the fact that Microsoft have come out, there will be VR support. They are currently working closely with Oculus. Whether or not that stays true or stays the same, since I have gotten word that Palmer Luckey is once again in the media for all the wrong reasons, and a lot of developers have actually pulled Oculus support. They're no longer supporting Oculus Rift because of what's been going down. It's quite possible that Microsoft may shift gears on that and actually go, yep, now we're bringing in HTC Vive support as well. Which means that this thing isn't, again, everything they keep coming up with and coming out in terms of either performance, in terms of their specs, and actually what they're going to be compatible with, tells me that this thing isn't going to be a true console. This isn't going to be a stick your disc in, turn it on, and off you go. It's going to be actually a PC style thing. Kind of, it sounds like it's going to fall into the same kind of realm as the things like the Alienware Alpha R1 and all the Steam boxes that are out there, and every other home-built HTPC mini ITX form factors, the little ones that sit under your TV and look like they belong there and have HDMI cable up, controllers on them, you know, all that kind of support on there. So what does that actually mean? If Microsoft are doing this, and I'm somebody that believes actions speak louder than words, what does that mean? What is Sony doing? Well, Sony has just brought out the PlayStation Now service, which is, think Netflix but for streaming games. So you can sit there and stream games to your PC and sit there and play PC titles. So, not PC titles. So you can sit there on your PC and play PlayStation 3, PlayStation 1 available, with PlayStation 2 supposedly coming online shortly. So you can go and sign up to PlayStation Now and play PlayStation games. You just got to get yourself a controller to make it that much easier to deal with. Obviously, I'd be saying get yourself something like the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation DualShock 4 controllers, and use the DS4 Windows applet that goes in and makes the controller actually work with the PlayStation Bluetooth dongle. Or just get one of the USB controllers that are similar, essentially have all the same button placements, have everything. They're just done by the likes of Logitech or something like that, and they're just the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation style, or DualShock, I should say, DualShock style controller. So we've got that. So when you have Yoshida coming out saying there's no plans for a PlayStation 5, you have Spencer coming out saying Project Scorpio is going to be the last whatever. And then you've got Sony doing a shift to online gaming streaming, which no one's been coming for years. And you've got the Project Scorpio coming out from Microsoft, and it's got all the specifications, and they have even said when it comes out it'll be the equivalent of a mid-level PC. Which makes sense, because in 12 months, obviously, everything shifts down and things get cheaper. So the thing is, I haven't mentioned price for the Scorpio. So what does this all actually mean? Well, as I said, I'm somebody that believes in actions speaking louder than words, but when you have actions and what they're saying kind of marrying up, and then everybody else, all the analysts and everything saying, well, this is what's going to happen, I dare say, friends, that console gaming as we know it may be coming to an end. Where we've seen generational stuff, we're going to see that come to an end. Whether that means that Sony goes into basically saying PlayStation 4 is it, and they just do a new iteration of their console every year, and fall into the iDevice cycle, where every year is just an iteration of kind of an upgrade, a small upgrade, and then update on the hardware, and then you go on for a couple of years, and then you go, right, well, I've had my PlayStation Pro for 4 years. The new PlayStation Pro 4 is now twice as powerful as my original PlayStation Pro, so now I'll upgrade to that one. So it's all about that, and then all my PlayStation 4 titles libraries still are compatible. And I would dare say that it's quite possible, well, it should already be there. I'm pretty sure it's actually already there, that they've got that in place. So with a streaming service for the older titles that may no longer be compatible. So, as I said, things in the next 12 months, it's going to be very, very interesting to see where console gaming is ending up. PC gaming is just going from strength to strength. PC gaming last year, I think, or last year almost outstripped console gaming in terms of game sales, and this year it's looking to actually outdo it. Like there's and things that I've seen and read, I can't remember where I've seen them, but there is talk that PC gaming is actually on a huge rise in terms of sales and stuff like that. So as I said, the next 12 months up until that Project Scorpio, until we get more and more information about Project Scorpio comes through, I'm hedging that the Project Scorpio is going to end up being something like the Xbox, or something like the Xbox box, or Xbox PC, so that it's not carrying a negative connotation that Windows will carry with console gamers. It will still have a familiarity. It will say this is the Xbox PC, meaning that it's combining Xbox titles with PC titles. You now can play both games, or both sets of games on the one box. You hook it up to your TV, off you go. So it's fantastic. It's great. I think that's fantastic. That if that's what they're going for, it just seems like they're both Sony and Microsoft are gearing up to maybe exit the console market. maybe, I don't know. There's just certain things about what they're doing and how they're going about things that looks like they're putting themselves in a position where they can quietly exit market or change, give themselves the flexibility and room to maneuver around a very volatile market at the moment for them in terms of hardware. So here's the kicker though. If the Xbox becomes the Xbox PC, there is a possibility that because it would be running Windows 10, and it's quite possible that you'll have access to PC stuff, that you'll be able to access PlayStation Now and stream PlayStation games to your Xbox PC console thing. So you will now have access to Xbox One, Xbox 360, PC titles, and PlayStation. You will have your cake and be able to eat it too on this box. And I'd love to actually see some of the original Xbox titles come through as well. So it's, as I said, the next 12 months is going to be very interesting. But anyway, I've been the Anzac Gamer, also known as AngelLad85. Once again, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you didn't, just put the dislike button. I'll probably get some hate because it's console. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I am looking to make sure that I am videos every week, every Friday, if not Saturday morning, depending on when I get the chance to actually do editing and other stuff. So yeah. Anyway, I will see you and 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 all of you in my next video. Bye for now.